And I know that right now he probably has the most amazing view looking at those mountains because there would lots of snow there in Utah. But he's going to be our trainer this evening. I would encourage everybody to get out your notepads because you will need to take a lot of notes tonight and write down a lot of assignments and goals and action items to take care of. So, Chris Hughes, you've had tremendous success with the company, a $250,000 ring earner, reached the very top levels in the company. Certainly eligible and credible to be training us tonight, and we're thrilled to hear the information that you've prepared for us. We'll turn the webinar over to you.
Okay, well, Jeff, I'm using my headset. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, excellent. Well,
I
thank
took
you.
care of the reverb as well, so that's good. Way to go.
Oh, very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Jeff. I am hearing a little bit of echo. Are you muted out,
Yeah, I'm
Jeff?
going to mute myself out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll mute myself out.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Crystal clear. Okay, well, thank you again, Jeff. I really appreciate that introduction, and I really appreciate being able to work with you. And, Jeff didn't say anything about himself. Jeff is a Millionaire Club member and really a legend in Legal Shield. He has created one of the largest organizations ever in Legal Shield. Certainly approaching 100,000 people, and I know for new people, you hear that, and it seems like, how in the world do you ever get to that point? That's incredible. How do you get 100,000 people to do anything? And we're actually going to be talking a lot about that tonight. I need to move this thing out of the way here. All right, sorry about that. Um, so appreciate that, Jeff. And Jeff is also a six-figure money earner, a Millionaire Club member, and if it weren't for him, none of us would be here tonight. He shared the opportunity with both Dave Hughes, Mike Hughes, and Chris Hughes, as three of his brothers, in one night, and we all decided eventually, as a result of that, to get started. So we have a lot to do tonight. I'd like to get done as early as I can because I would really like to take your questions. We'll take questions via chat um, a little later. And I'm going to open this up so that I can see your questions as they come in. And we want this to be, I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but um, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So we're going to get through the first part, the webinar part, then we'll do the Q&A on the back half. We've got a lot of information to cover in a very short period of time. You may or may not be able to get notes on everything that we are saying tonight. One thing that I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and let you all know now, we're going to put these slides, not only will we put the video up from the webinar, so the video playback, we're also going to put the slides up so that you can go through and see all the PDFs. We're not going to put it up in PowerPoint form, but we'll at least put it up in PDF and photo form. So anything that you see in the pictures tonight, you'll be able to access on the Team Renew website sometime in the next 24 hours. So don't feel like you need to take notes feverishly. If you want to, fine, but I just don't want you to miss out on some of the things that we're going to say because you're trying to get caught up on what was on the slide before. I also encourage you, as Jeff indicated, to go back and watch webinar 1 again, watch webinar 2 again. Next week is part 3, the next week is part 4, and all of this is with the end in mind to help the organization to recruit 5, 10, 15, and some of you are going to recruit 20 plus people in the month of March. That's what this webinar series is all about. So let's go ahead and jump in. Again, those replays can be found at teamrenew.com. And if you'll see there down towards the bottom of the page, there should be some sparkles and a red circle right there where it says Recruit 20 Webinar Series. Everything that you need, everything that has anything to do with this webinar series is going to be right there at that link. Now that link may move down as we post new articles, but that's the one you're looking for, the Recruit 20 Webinar Series. That's where the current replay is for last week. That's where this replay will be, where the future replays will be. It'll be where all our slides are, where you can register, where you can learn about the webinar series. Everything will be on that page. All right, so last week we talked about the 7 fundamental skills of network marketing. And by the way, These skills will pay you millions and millions of dollars. These skills have paid the Hughes family millions and millions of dollars. We're getting close to, $10 million in income as a result of mastering just a few simple fundamental skills. And last week we talked about finding prospects. We talked about the most effective way to, to build the business, which is warm market. There's warm market and cold market. Warm market is people that you know and who know you. Cold market is people that don't know you and you don't know them. The best way and the fastest way to build the business is with warm market, the people that you know. And so a reminder for all of you is, this Recruit 20 is for March. We know you're all recruiting this month and you're marketing memberships and you're getting in the Performance Club. Business as usual. Congratulations on that. We encourage that. But I want to encourage you all to be building relationships now. Reach out. Last week your homework assignment was to rework your warm list and to go through that memory jogger and to literally go through the entire memory jogger and to begin reaching out to those people and just warming up those relationships. Some of those conversations might lead into an immediate conversation about the business and an immediate exposure, sharing a tool with them or inviting them to the briefing. And that's fine. That's great. If they say, hey, John, what are you doing now? Mary, what are you up to? And if you say, oh, I started a business and it's exploding and things are so exciting in my market, and they're getting ready to give me a new BMW and what, tell me about this. See, that might happen. If it doesn't, no problem. We just want to warm up those relationships so that when you call them in March, as you're, going after it, so it's not weird, there's nothing weirder than getting a phone call. And I've had this happen over the years. Matter of fact, I had this happen with somebody who I used to be a really good friends with, and I haven't heard from her in a long time. And one day she reaches out to me on Facebook, and it's like, oh, that's cool. It's so nice of her to reach out to me. And then it's, this immediate pitch, right? She starts pitching me. That's very, very distasteful. Um, One of the things I didn't have time to put in our webinar tonight, it's just we really don't have time to cover this, but I want you to know right off the bat, tonight, make sure that you all have this in your notes. Amateurs pitch. Amateurs are wham bam. Here today, gone tomorrow. Professionals, and part of what we're trying to do here, what we are doing here in this webinar series, is to teach you all to be network marketing professionals, to teach you the professional side of our business, to leave the side of amateur and to move into the side of professionalism. Professionals build relationships. Professionals really care about the people that they want to bring into their business. They care about their friends, their family, their neighbors, their coworkers, the people that they go to church with. And their first goal is just to foster that relationship. It's just to nurture that relationship. It's not to make money. It's not to get them in the business. So when I say warm up those relationships, the goal is not to warm them up so that we can get them, right? That's not the goal. We don't want to get anybody. The goal is to warm those relationships up because that's a good thing to do. Warm up those friendships and those relationships. And if it evolves into a conversation into our business or them joining your business, great. But only if that's a natural series of events. So last week we talked about that skill of finding prospects. We also talked about, prospecting 101. I've heard from many of you that you've gotten that audio. It's one of the best audios that I've ever heard about meeting people out in the marketplace, turning strangers into friends. So that was last week's webinar. Again, if you haven't heard it, it's at Team Renew. We talked about where to find that on the previous slide. This week, we're going to move down to 2 additional fundamental skills: inviting prospects and presenting to those prospects. And I'm just going to let you know now that the reason presenting is in quotes is because we don't present. We don't present to our prospects. We put our prospects in front of tools that do the presentation for you. We put our prospects in front of the business briefing, where a professional presenter is going to do the presenting for you. That's why that presenting is in quotes. On future webinars, we'll talk about how to follow up with prospects, how to close the prospects, getting new associates started right, and promoting for events. Again, that's another snapshot of those 7 fundamental skills. So as a reminder, you're going to be doing 200 exposures in the first 10 days of March. 200 exposures in the first 10 days of March. For any of you that say, no way, Jose, I'm not doing that, that's fine. That is totally fine. This is only for people that want to recruit 20 people in the month of March. And you remember last week we asked you, what is it worth to you? And we had you fill in the numbers, your commissions, your overrides, your bonuses, your level advancement, your example to your team, long-term commissions, short-term commissions. And some of you came up with numbers in excess of $100,000. I think some of you came up with over $1 million in total income that you would generate if you recruited 20 people in the month of March. Again, to give you some additional motivation, if you recruit 20 people in the year of 2013, you're probably never going to build a big business. That's just the reality. And I don't want to bust anybody's bubble. I don't want to have anybody feel like, oh no, woe is me and this is terrible news, because you can make money and you can do great. You can be in the performance club. If you can get your BMW and you can make $500 to $1,000 a month. But I'm just letting you know that you'll never build a big business if you're recruiting 20 people in a year. There's got to be a season of your business where you shut everything down and you bring in lots of recruits in a very short period of time. We talked about it last week. It's just like compounded interest. If you start investing when you're 65, or if you start investing $1 a year, it's not going to happen for you. You want to recruit a bunch of people when you're young in the business, or just as quickly as you can, get as much money in the bank as possible so that money begins to compound over time. That's why we're going to be exposing the first 10 days of March. You see in yellow, you're going to be contacting and inviting, exposing, and presenting 200 exposures in the first 10 days of March. Then you can see in the second 10 days what you're going to be doing: follow-up, focus, three-way calls, additional exposures, get people to events. Third 10 days, you're going to be closing them, more additional exposures, more three-way calls, and continuing to get people to events. But really, what we want to get focused on is those 200 exposures in the first 10 days of March. So tonight, we're going to be talking about contacting and inviting, exposing and presenting. How do you do that? So again, that's what tonight's webinar is about. I forgot I had a slide on that: contacting and inviting and presenting the opportunity. Now, here's what we're going to do. You're either going to take the information to your prospect, those are tools, or you're going to take your prospects to the information, and those are events. It's so very simple. That's it. That's the presenting side. I want to go ahead and get this out of the way. This is the presentation side of our webinar series tonight. Remember, let me go back a bit. We're talking about contacting, inviting, and presenting the opportunity. So we're going to go ahead and handle presenting right now. That's what it looks like. Super simple. You're either going to take the information of your prospects, those are tools doing the presentation for you, or you're going to take your prospects to the information, to the presentation, okay, which is events, having someone else, again, do the presentation for you. I suggest that if you are doing presentations, you are going to grow very, very slow. If you're sitting down with people and you're doing 30, 40, 50-minute presentations, you might get them in, you might sell them a membership, you might recruit them in the business, but you're not going to duplicate. You're not going to build a big team. We'll talk more about that as we get into the webinar. What we're talking about is tools and events. It is such a simple system. And I'm going to go ahead and read this slide to you, and I hope you all read it with me. But here's the reality. Millions of people are looking for ways to earn extra income. I mean, are there millions of people looking for a legal plan? No. Will they buy it if it's explained to them correctly? Well, of course. But right now, there's already millions of people that are looking for ways to earn extra income, and sharing our business with them is so easy. All you've got to do is share our marketing tools with the people you know. We've got videos, we've got audios, We've got websites, we've got sizzle calls, we've got lots of tools that will do the presentation for you. And again, I reiterate, you're the messenger, you're not the message. And when people with whom you share their business with are interested in joining you, or they might have questions, you invite them to one of our events. They learn more about the business. If they decide to get started, they repeat the process. They start sharing tools. They take people to events. They start sharing tools with people. They bring them to the events. Tools and events, tools and events, tools and events. It's so simple. I've told this story a million times. I'll tell it a million more times. But how I got in the business was my brother, the host for this evening, Mr. Jeff Hughes, showed me a video and I loved it. And then we went to an event and I loved it. And I got started. I didn't get started that night, but I got started eventually. I had to save up the investment. And then I began to share tools with the people that I knew. Matter of fact, I shared a tool with my roommate Dwayne and he loved it. And I took him to the briefing and he loved it and he signed up. And he shared tools with his friends and they loved it. And they brought him to the event and they loved it and they signed up. And that's how, remember in the beginning, I talked about how Jeff's, getting, I don't know how close he is, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 people in his organization. And I said, how in the world do you ever get people to, 100,000 people to do anything? Well, that's it. I just unlocked the mystery for you. It started with just Jeff using tools and getting us to the events, and us using tools and getting people to the events. So let's define them. Tools. When I say third party tools, or when I say tools, excuse me, I mean third party tools. Third party tools. What is the definition of third party tools? Well, the definition of third party tool is anything that's not you. If you're doing the presentation, that's first party. If anyone or anything is doing the presentation, that's third party. So what could be some examples of third party tools? Well, a DVD, a website. Here's a few examples of websites. LegalShield.com. You can log into LegalShield.com, and in your back office, there is there's a tools section where you can actually send out videos to people. You talk to somebody, you go, hey, I'm going to send you a video. You put their email in there and you hit send. Okay, and you'll get an email when your friend watches that video, um, and you access that at LegalShield.com. Great Career Plan. This is a website that we've put together as an organization. Go there, check that out. We don't have time to talk about how that works tonight. Great Work Plan. This is one that Patrick Shaw put together. Um, there's plenty of websites out there that you can use. There's sizzle calls. I love sizzle calls. And I'll be talking about sizzle calls a little later in the webinar. But here's a couple that I like. One is done by a male. The second one there is done by a female. The first one is done by yours truly. The second one there is done by Miss Tara Postenbach, who's the Regional Vice President of South Texas. You can, I'll go ahead and read those numbers off, but 512 404 2330, option 2. That's sizzle call that I did about 4 minutes. And we will be redoing that sizzle call, by the way, so be looking for that over the next 2 or 3 weeks before we get to March. And then Ms. Postenbach's sizzle call number is 512-703-6148, option number 1. I'm going to be talking again more about sizzle calls, what they are, how they work, and I'll even role play or share with you how I do sizzle calls a little later in the webinar. And then three-way calls. Three-way calls, that's an additional third-party tool that you can use. And this is just simply if somebody has questions, you can put them on the phone with your upline or with someone that you're working with and let someone else answer the questions. Let someone else resolve those concerns and invite them to the business briefing. By the way, I want to tell a story. We've got a lot of facts here tonight, and I want to be careful not to bore you all to tears with the facts, with the data. I need to make sure that we interject some stories here. There was a gal named Alicia who was on Mr. Hall's team several years ago. And Alicia called me up and she said, "Oh, I'm so frustrated." And I said, "Hey, remember Jim Rohn? Don't be frustrated, be fascinated. Frustration is negative, fascination is positive." She says, "Okay, well, I'm really fascinated." And I said, "Why are you so fascinated?" And she said, "Well, because I invite so many people to come to the business briefings and they don't sign and they never show up. And I said, well, how does that make you feel? She said, well, terrible. And I said, well, then why are you doing that? And she said, well, isn't that our goal? Aren't we supposed to use third party tools and then invite them to live events? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, that's what I'm doing. And I said, well, great. How's that working for you? And she said, it's not working for me. And I go, well, then why are you doing it? And she said, well, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Aren't we supposed to use third party tools and get them to live events? And I said, absolutely. And she said, well, that's what I'm doing. And I said, well, great. How's that working for you? And she said, what are you doing, Mr. Hughes? You know, what, I'm trying to get advice. And I said, well, look, I'm trying to prove a point. How's it working for you? She said, it's not. That's the point. That's the point. And I said, okay, great. So are you using third party tools? She said, yes. I said, are you inviting them to the business briefing? She said, yes. And I said, and they're not showing up? And she said, no. And I said, okay, well, you know, the definition of insanity is to keep doing what you've always done, but to expect a different result. So let's look at what we can do. Let's look at the tools that are available to you, and let's see what we can do to create a different result. Let's do a different thing so that you can get a different result. She said, okay, I want you to consider doing three-way calls with these people. You're inviting them and they're not showing up. This week, I want you to, every time you do a third party tool, since when you do the invitation, it's not working, I want you to use a three-way call. Bring in another third party tool, bring in another third party, bring in your upline, an expert, sideline, somebody that you're working with, okay? And I said, let's see what happens. Track your numbers. Call me back in a week. She said, okay, great. She called me a week later, and this is from memory, and I never wrote these numbers down. But my recollection is that she called me. She was so enthusiastic. She said, you're not going to believe it. I said, what? She said, I did a bunch of third party exposures last week. I ended up doing, I think she said 4 or 5 three-way calls. Four people showed up at the business briefing. And of those 4 people that showed up at the business briefing, I think she said 2 or 3 people bought the membership, and 2 people, I don't remember, 1 or 2 people, or maybe 3 people. The point is, she had dramatically different results. So three-way calls are critical. I'm not sure if we'll have a place to talk about that later. So I want to make sure that we talk about that now. So these are third-party tools, anything that's not you. Now let's talk about what are events. Let's define events. Events are just any events that you invite your prospects to. Business briefings, luncheons, private business receptions, super Saturdays, regional rallies, any event that you invite your prospects to, that is an event. Okay? Third party tools and events. So now that we've got all those definitions in place, let's move forward. So, what's the most effective? This is really the $1 million question. What's the most effective, a tool or an event? Well, the answer is events. Events are by far more effective than tools. But the downside of events is that they're not every day. We've only got a briefing maybe once a week, right? You're not doing private business receptions every night. We don't do super Saturdays every Saturday. So because events aren't every day, that's why we lead with the tool. We always want to lead with the tool because tools can be used all the time, anytime, every time. Tools are not as effective as events, but they're more readily available. You can use them 24 hours a day. You can get a tool out every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week. Okay? This is why we use tools. Another reason why we use tools is because it's easier. It's easier for us to say, hey, watch this, boom, and give them a DVD, or sit down and show the DVD to them. It's so much easier to do that than to call them up and say, hey, what are you doing on Thursday? Oh, well, your wife has to work. Okay, well, are you babysitting? Oh, you are? Okay, well, what about Tuesday at lunch? Are you doing? Oh, you're working? Okay. What about Saturday? Oh, you're out of town? Okay. You see how that works? Tools, we don't play that game. If you've got a tool, you call them up and say, hey, are you in front of the computer? They say, yeah, I just sent you an email. Go watch that video. You see that? Tools are immediate. They're immediate. You don't have to arrange anybody's calendar to use a tool. Moving forward, let's talk about now the skills of contacting and inviting. These were supposed to come out one at a time, but we'll just read them. 8 rules for, excuse me, I didn't fix that. That's supposed to say 10 rules of contacting and inviting. You know what? Let's do that right now. Let's do it in real time. How about that? 10 rules for contacting and inviting. And my wife's out of town today, so if you see typos, that's why. The brains of the operation was not in the office. So 10 rules of contacting and inviting. Number 1, detach yourself emotionally from the outcome. And don't be taking notes. I mean, stay with me. Don't go to number 2 until we're on number 2, okay? Number 1, detach yourself emotionally from the outcome. You know what? I'm going to go ahead, speaking of real time, you guys get to see behind the curtains here by paragraph. Super easy. That's why I have a Macintosh. All right. Detach yourself emotionally from the outcome. What does that mean? Well, it's called educating your expectations. You've got to know before you get into this that, I mean, let me just ask you and you answer the question. Are 100% of the people that you share the business with going to say yes? Yes or no? The answer is no. And if the answer is no, then you've got to know that going into this. You've got to detach yourself emotionally from the outcome. We don't care what they say, right? I mean, yeah, of course, we want them to join our business. We want to share the membership, get them protected, get a commission, of course. But you can't expect that every time. And if you expect that every time, you will live in disappointment. Our goal is to do 200 exposures in the first 10 days of March. We know that if you do 200 exposures, that you're going to recruit some people. We know that. We know that you're probably going to recruit anywhere from 10 to 30 people if you'll do 200 exposures in the first 10 days of March. So we're just going after the exposures. You know, it's like digging for gold. I've used this example many times. I want you all to remember this mantra: move in the dirt, 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 move in the dirt. That's what we're doing. We're just moving the dirt. Now, not literally, but figuratively, we're moving the dirt. You know, if you've ever seen anybody, these big gold mining operations up in Alaska, they've got these giant earth movers, right? And they pick up this big scoop of dirt and rock and they pour it into this gigantic machine that shakes it, and it throws the rocks one way and the dirt another way, right? And it's a process to get the gold out of the dirt. And they have to move tons, literally tons and tons and tons and tons of dirt in order to find an ounce of gold. We've got to do the same thing. We've got to do 200 exposures, right, in the first 10 days of March if you want to recruit 20 people in the month of March. So we're not attached to any of these 200 exposures at all. We're not attached at all. We're just moving the dirt, moving the dirt, moving the dirt, moving the dirt. We know that if we move enough dirt, we're going to find the gold. We know that if you do enough exposures, you're going to find the recruits. If you get enough recruits, we know that you're going to find some leaders. If you get enough leaders, we know that you're going to become wealthy in our profession. Detach yourself emotionally from the outcome. We sort, we don't convince. Don't ever get into the convincing mode of please, please, please. Oh my gosh, you'd be so good. You're so awesome. You know so many people. You're such a leader. You're a center of it. Don't get into that. We're going to share with them what we do and we're going to let them sort themselves out. We are not going to twist their arms. We're not going to convince them. We're not going to beg, plead, manipulate. We're just going to sort. Might want to get this in your notes. Professional network marketers, they sort. They sift and sort. They don't beg. They don't convince. They sift and they sort. We're moving the dirt, right? Moving the dirt, moving the dirt, moving the dirt. We're sifting, sorting. That's a rock, it goes over there. That's dirt, it goes over there. Hey, we got some gold, right? We're just sifting and we're sorting. 10 rules for contacting and inviting. Number 3, sell the tool or the event or the appointment, not the opportunity or the service. You're not getting into it at all. When you're calling these people on the phone, you're not talking about our opportunity or our service at all. Zero. No talk about our membership. No talk about our opportunity. All you're doing is and when I use the word sell, that really should be in quotes. You're not really selling, but you're promoting the tool. Okay, you're promoting the tool, you're promoting the event, you're setting up the appointment, not the opportunity or the service. You want to get on the call and off the call. You want it to be quick. Okay, have a sense of urgency. It would sound like this. Hey Jeff, it's Chris. How are you? Good. Hey Jeff, I'm glad I caught you. I've only got a few minutes. I've only got a minute. Hey, Jeff, these are just different examples that you can use. Oh, Jeff, I'm so glad I got you. My gosh, I am slammed today and I've just got a minute. But hey, random question for you, right? And now you're getting into the setup, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But you want to have a sense of urgency and you want to be enthusiastic. Be yourself, but be your best self. You want to be your most enthusiastic self. You want to be your most passionate self. You want to be your best energetic self. Okay, be yourself. So if I call Jeff, and normally how I talk to Jeff is, hey Jeff, how's it going? If that's normally how I talk to him, I'm gonna up it just a little bit. I'm gonna be myself, but I'm gonna be my best self, right? So it'd be like, hey Jeff, how's it going? He says, good. I mean, Jeff knows I'm on a mission, right? He's like, good. What's up with you? He's like, oh man, Jeff, I am so glad I caught you. I've only got a few minutes, but listen, I want to ask you a question, right? Or I'm calling about business. And again, we'll get into this as we get deeper into the webinar. Number 6, let your excitement and your passion shine through. I think I just illustrated that. Number 7, your music is much more important than your words. Your music is much more important than your words. See, some of you, especially newer people, are probably, writing the words down feverishly. You're just like, oh my gosh, I got to get all this. And that's great. We want you to take notes and we want you to review the webinars over and over and over again. But you need to know that your music, it's your vibe, it's your essence, it's your energy. That stuff, your passion, your excitement, that your confidence, that stuff is so much more important than the words that you say. It's really, we're going to give you some words tonight, but if your music is bad, I can give you the exact words and they're not going to work for you. Your music is so much more important than your words. So I hope that you all get that note. These are 10 rules for contacting and inviting. And by the way, just by standing up when you make phone calls and smiling, now I'm not smiling right now, but now I am. Can y'all hear the difference in my voice? Right now I'm not smiling, but but now I am. Now I'm smiling. Right now I'm totally smiling. Okay? So you can hear it. If you stand up and you pace around and you walk around and you smile, that music will be so much more enticing. It will be more attractive, more desirable, and more palatable to your prospects. Your words then will have more effectiveness if your music is right. Number 8 is have posture. Remember who you are. Don't let people push you around. You're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar enterprise. You are the CEO of a multi-million-dollar enterprise. They need you, not the other way around. You don't beg them. You don't plead with them. You're the CEO. You're staffing your company. They need us. We don't need them. That has to be your posture. That has to be your attitude. If somebody gives you flack, don't be afraid to say no. Get this in your notes. Say no first. Say no first. If you feel like somebody's about to be ignorant with you, they're about to disrespect you, or maybe they do, or maybe they say, is this one of those pyramid companies? You just say, you know what? I've made a terrible mistake. I'm going to let you go. You try that on your prospects, and they will start to backstep and back. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry, Tom. Look, I didn't mean to offend you. No, you didn't offend me. It's like, look, I'm on a mission. I'm building a business. I called because I wanted to share it with you. I'd like to think that you would, know me better than to believe I would get started in a pyramid company. So it sounds like this is probably not for you. Well, no, 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 no. I'm in. I'm in. I want to hear. I want to learn. Right? That's the power of saying no first. You have posture. I'll never forget. I sit down. My brother-in-law sits me down with a guy that he was really excited about. We met at where were we? I think Mimi's or I think it was Mimi's Cafe in Temecula, California. This is, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And my brother-in-law, Zion, he was so excited about this prospect. Oh, he's a really sharp guy. He's an entrepreneur. He's got lots of free time right now. He's really motivated. He's looking. And I'm like, you hear this all the time. And so it's like, okay, let's sit down. We're going to eat lunch anyway. Zion and I were going to have lunch anyway. So we invited this guy just so that we could meet. And so we sit down, and this guy is all ego. He's so arrogant. It's dripping out of his mouth, right? It's oozing out of his ears. He was just an egomaniac. And so we sit down, and he says, I don't even remember what he said, but it was something about it. I don't even remember, but it was less than positive. Let me put it to you that way. And I said something like, "Well, hey, look, with that said, forget about it. Let's not talk business. Let's just enjoy our meal. It's probably not for you anyway. I'm not sure if you would even qualify, right? I mean, it was ego to ego, right? I mean, I was testing him. I tested, and we don't have this in your notes, but when someone has ego, challenge their ego. Challenge their ego. This is all part of having posture. If somebody gives you a little bit of ego, you challenge that. You don't back down from that. He says, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these things aren't really for me. And if this is one of those pyramid companies, I'm probably not interested." Challenge that. And it'll take you some time. And I think our last slide tonight, we'll talk a little bit more about what to do in the meantime while you're growing your posture and growing your confidence. But I challenged him immediately. I said, "Well, you know what? Let's not talk business. Sounds like you've already disqualified yourself. I'm not sure that you'd be qualified anyway. So let's just enjoy our meal." And he looked at me like I just popped him in the jaw. He's like, "No, no, man. I'm not saying I'm not interested. Maybe it's probably not for you. You're probably right." No, no, man. I want to hear. I at least want to hear what you guys are doing, right? We're still it's ego to ego, right? A little bit. We're kind of hitting each other in the fist, right? Um, I have posture. You got to have posture. My posture is I don't need you. You're probably gonna, and I'm not talking to you all, of course. I'm talking to, some egomaniac prospect or ignorant, disrespectful, less than positive and supportive prospect that you may run into occasionally. Here's my mentality. I don't need you. You're probably going to be a distraction and a pain in my backside. I'm the CEO of a multi-million dollar enterprise. I'm not sure if you even qualify. Now, you very rarely, if ever, will say these things to people. I use this when I need to posture up, right? When somebody's being a jerk. Don't be afraid to say no first. Don't be afraid to take it away from them. And then confirm the next step. So when you're on the call, you're going to make sure that maybe you did the tool, maybe you did an exposure, maybe the next step is you're going to do a sizzle call. Maybe the next step is you're going to do a three-way call. Maybe the next step is you're going to send them a web link. But whatever that next step is, just make sure that it's very clear and they know what the next step is, and then get off the phone. Those are the 10 rules for contacting and inviting. Now, something else that we all need to be aware of is that it can typically take, actually, you know what, Jeff, I'm going to mute out for just a second. I'd like for you to chime in. I'd love to have a different voice jump in on this. And what are your thoughts on anything that we've shared thus far and any insights that you may have, Jeff?
It's interesting, Chris, as I'm sitting here, it just brings back so many memories of when we first started and the trainings that we went to, and I don't know, just talking about the posture and stuff. I remember Patrick Shaw, training on that, and I remember being so new in the business and thinking, I'm not going to be mean to anybody because I don't want to run anybody off. Who am I to have posture with them? And I think when you do start off, you try to convince, cajole, manipulate, spin it in a way that you think that they might take the bait or whatever. And it's the idea that you want every rock you pick up to be a nugget of gold, and you're going to make it into a nugget of gold. You may be just a chunk of rock, but if you finesse it long enough, maybe you can make it into gold. And when you talk about amateurs versus professionals, amateurs convince and professionals sort, you're just going to have to go through that. And I'll just tell everybody in the call, you won't be a professional from the very beginning, but you ought to have it in your head that as you begin making these exposures and going through these prospects that you're working on, that it's okay if you lose a few. It's okay if you screw up on it, or if you don't feel like you said it in a way that they would understand it. Some will, some won't, and you can't change it. No matter how good you get, you can't change the fact that most people don't get it. The timing is wrong for them. They're just not the right person. They're not in the right place in their life. We're not looking for everybody. We don't want every rock to be gold. You think you do. But the reality is, if everybody said yes, the opportunity would already be over, and there'd be no opportunity for you. The fact that most people say no protects the opportunity and preserves the opportunity for the people who really want it, who are willing to work through the piles of dirt to get to the nuggets of gold. And so I would just tell you that what Chris is telling you is absolutely true. Give yourself a pass when you don't recruit everybody. That's the way it's supposed to feel. It's what it's supposed to look like. And the only thing you can control is the amount of dirt coming in. I'm a big fan of Gold Rush. Everybody in my family thinks I'm crazy. I just love the idea of finding gold. Yeah, my family, you talk about Leave the Room. That show comes on, and off they go, and I turn the volume up, and I just love it because I think it's a perfect metaphor for the business that we're in. There's gold in the ground. I mean, they know it. They say this is good dirt, and we have good dirt in Legal Shield. There's lots and lots of gold, but we have to go through a mountain of dirt to get to it. But it doesn't matter. I don't care how much dirt I have to go through, just as long as I know there is gold in the end of the game. And that's my promise to you guys, is there's so many people looking for an opportunity, and some of them will join your business, and some of them that join your business will go on to be leaders in your business and will make you a fortune while they make a fortune for their families. So trust us. This is the way it's supposed to feel. You're not doing anything wrong when most people tell you no. They're just dirt. They're good people, but in your business, they're just dirt. Lots of dirt in, a little bit of gold out, but a little bit of gold's worth a lot of money. So back to you, Christopher.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. And the mindset that you've got to have while you're building your business is, thank you, Jeff, is I'm one recruit away from an explosion. That's the mindset that you've got to have. I'm just one recruit away. I mean, think about this. There is another Jeff Hughes out there. There's another Kim Melia out there. There's another Melia Brothers combination out there. There's another Hughes Brothers combination out there. There's another Moore Success Team. Ken Moore, Randy Moore, Jeremy Moore, 3 generations of Millionaire Club members. There's another family out there like that. There's another Brian Carruthers out there. There's another Darnell Self out there. There's another Dave Savula out there. I was listening to an audio earlier today, a network marketing training audio, and there was a story told. Let me recount this story for you. They were talking about tools and how it's just so important to get the tools out there, every day. Get tools in the marketplace, physical tools like a DVD, like an audio tape. And this happened back in the 90s. And he was telling the story about how this guy pulls up to a gas station, to a pump, starts filling his car up with gas. While he's waiting, he's watching the numbers go up, right, on the gas. I don't even know what you call that thing, but he's watching how many gallons are going into his car. And while he's watching it, go up 1 gallon, 2 gallon, 3 gallon, 4 gallon, something on top of that, whatever that thing is called, something, was on top, and it's a little audio tape. And he grabbed that tape, and when he was done filling up, he jumped in his car, and he put that audio tape into his car, and he listened to it. And it was about, some other random network marketing business that was big back in the 1990s. And he signed up, and he became, he called there was a number on there, right? There was a little sticker that says, for more information or to enroll, call whatever, Joe Blow, with the phone number. He listened to that audio tape in his car 30 times. He said it must have been 30 times. Listened to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Finally, he gets up the courage to call the number that's on this audio tape, calls the person, says, look, I want to get started. They met up, they enrolled, he got started, and he became one of the top 10 money earners in the entire company. He raced to the top. He raced to the top 10. He blew by tens of thousands of distributors, of associates, and landed in the top 10 because somebody was putting tools into the marketplace. Now, the odds of somebody finding a tool at a gas station, putting it in their car, listening to it 30 times, calling you, and then becoming in the top 10 is so very, the statistics on that, the statistical probability is so small. It's ridiculous. But that's not the point. The point is, you are one recruit away from an explosion. That's all. One recruit away from an explosion. There are hundreds, and even I would say thousands, and perhaps even tens of thousands of six-figure money earners that have yet to be recruited into Legal Shield. My question for you is, who's going to get them? Are you going to get them? Am I going to get them? Are we going to get, are we going to share the opportunity with them and give them the gift of our opportunity and allow them to come into our business? Or is somebody else out there going to get it? Is Darnell Self going to get them all? Is Brian Carruthers going to get them all? Is Kim Melia going to get them all? Or are we going to go out there and enroll these leaders into our business? All right, there was one other thing I wanted to share. It just left me. I'll come back to it. It can typically take 3+ exposures to get someone to say yes to our opportunity. 3+ exposures. That's very typical. If you ever try to run an ad in the newspaper for a traditional business or do Facebook marketing or internet marketing or whatever, any type of advertising or sharing new ideas with people with a new market, they always tell you, don't waste your time with just one exposure. Don't waste your time with just running the ad once, right? It takes multiple exposures for people to understand what you're doing. In our business, it's the same way. It typically takes 3+ exposures to get someone to say yes to our opportunity. Now, it might look like this. You might put them on a sizzle call. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Then they might have some questions. And so you put them on a 3-way call. And that may lead to a live event. Might look like this: DVD, 3-way call, live event. It might look like this: send them to a website, 3-way call, live event. You may not even use a 3-way call. right? Three-way call is just another tool in our arsenal. It might be sizzle call, website, live event. It may not even take three exposures. Typically, it does. But you might send someone a video and they want to come, they want more information. They come to the briefing and they sign up. Or maybe you call them up and they go, well, hey, I know how this works. I'd like to come to one of your meetings. Really? Well, we have a meeting tonight. They come to the meeting, they sign up. So it might, I'm not saying that it always has to be three steps or three exposures. It always has to be a sizzle call or a DVD. That's not the point. The point is, third-party tools, live events. Third-party tools, live events. Third-party tools, live events. And it can typically take three exposures. Now, let's talk about how to contact and invite your prospects to overview a tool or presentation. Now, let's start at the bottom of this. I'm going to change that here. We won't have time to do that. This is what we call the scales of influence, the scale of influence, okay? Now, we're all, for tonight's purposes, we're all going to assume that we're all a 5. I'm 5. I'm a 5 in my world, right? There's people that I look up to that are 10s or 6s, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's people who look up to me, right? They may be a 0 or a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or a 5, right? So we're all at different levels, aren't we, financially? We're all at different levels in the business. We're all at different levels of emotion and success and income and confidence and all of that, right? But whoever you are, wherever you are, and in the world in which you live, let's just say we're all a 5. Because for all of us, again, there's people we look up to and there's people who look up to us. At least we would hope that that would be the situation. So let's start with the zeros, the ones, the twos, the threes, and the fours. These are the easiest. Zeros to fives are a piece of cake. Piece of cake. If you have somebody that's a 0 or a 1 or a 2 or a 3, there's nobody that's a 0. Y'all know what I'm saying. Just on the scale of influence, they may have 0 influence. And so they look up to you because you're at about a 5, right on the scale of influence and likability and confidence and all that. So you could say to a 0, a 1, 2, 3, or 4, hey, watch this. And they're going to do it because they look up to you, right? You could just call them up and say, hey, clear your schedule on Thursday because you're coming with me. And they'll be like, okay, right? Because they look up to you. They want to be with you. They want to spend time with you. They may even want to be, more like you. You could say, hey, check this out, and just put them on a sizzle call. It doesn't have to be fancy. With people who look up to you, remember, you're a 5. With people who look up to you, it's so easy to contact them, to invite them, to present to them using the tools. Okay, so those are just a few examples. What about 5s? What about your peer group? People that they're like you. They're your good friends. They're easily accessible. You really enjoy them, they enjoy you, but you're about equal, right? These are some questions that when you pick up the phone and you call them, these are some ideas that you could say. You call them up, and this is what it sounds like. Hey Mary, how's it going? It's Chris. Good. Hey, I'm so glad I caught you. I'm running out the door. But hey, I'm calling about business, and you just want to ask you a question. Do you keep your career options open? Okay? Or are you open to making extra money? Or hey Mary, I'm so glad I got you. I was just running out the door. Listen, I'm so excited. I just found a way for us to make some money. Right? I mean, these are just examples. And the reason there's a list of possibilities here is because it all depends upon the person. It all depends upon the situation. It all depends upon your relationship with that person. It all depends upon when was the last time you talked to that person. It all depends upon how warm your relationship is with that person, right? So there's a variety of possibilities here. Dave Savola's script has worked well for many, many years. You call him up, say, hey, Jeff, I'm so glad I got you. I was just running out the door. I just got a minute. Hey, listen, I've got something I want to show you. You may or may not be interested. It's only going to take about 15 minutes. When can I swing by? Right? You feel that sense of urgency. And if we're going to expose 200 people in the month of March, in the first 10 days of the month of March, man, we got to be on it. We got to have that sense of urgency, fear of loss. We got to go after it. Jeff, oh, I'm so glad I got you. I was just running out the door. I just got a minute. But hey, listen, there's something I want to show you. You may or may not be interested. It's only going to take about 15 minutes. When can I come by? Is tonight good or would tomorrow morning be better? Okay. And by the way, that's a good nugget. Give them choices. Don't wait for them to tell you. You give them choices. If you say, when can I come by? They might say, well, I'm studying for midterms. Why don't you come over next month? Well, that's not going to work. We're going to be exposing 200 people in the first 10 days of March. That's not going to fly. So this is important, right? Jeff, I'm so glad I caught you. There's something important I want to talk to you about. I've just run out the door and I only have a minute, but I've found something that I'm so excited about and I want to share it with you. I just need a few minutes. Is now good or later better, right? Should we get together this evening or tomorrow morning for breakfast? Okay. And if they go, oh, I'm too busy. Hey, no problem. You got to eat, right? You're going to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You're going to have at least one meal tomorrow. Where do you want to have it? I'm buying. Okay. This is sense of urgency. This is how we talk to people. This is how we contact and invite and get people and get in front of them. We're either physically getting in front of them to show them a tool, or we're going to get a tool in front of them right now, a sizzle call, a website, etc. Okay, so those are some possibilities. This is how you talk to people that are about your area, fives, 4, 5, 6 is something like this. Okay, now 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, people that you look up to, these people have ego. We know that. Now, and of course, it might be in control and it might be checked and it might be appropriate and healthy, and that's all fine, great. But people who we look up to, not just people we look at, everybody likes a compliment, right? Everybody likes a compliment. So to people that you're looking up to, here's some ideas. You call them up and say, hey, Mary, it's Chris. How are you? Good. Hey, I'm so glad I caught you. I was just running out the door, but I wanted to call you because I've always admired you. And I just started a new business and, you've been so successful. I'd love to get your thoughts about this business model. Now, this is $1 million question. If I made it easy on you, Mary, would you help me? If I made it easy on you, Mary, would you help me? People that you look up to, they see you as someone who looks up to them, right? You see them as someone that may, as it's on a completely different level. And we all like helping people. Don't we all like helping? Of course. Can you imagine somebody says, hey, could you help me? And you say, absolutely not, never, lose my number. It would be so ridiculous. Well, of course I can help you, especially if you just complimented me, made me feel like $1 million, right? Hey, Chris, how's it going? Good. Hey, listen, I'm glad I got you. I just got a minute, but I've always admired you. I've always looked up to you. It seems like everything you touch turns to gold, and I know that's not the way it is, but that's the way it appears from my vantage point. I've just started a new business. It's probably not for you. Great. I want to help, get your eyeballs on it so that you can give me, your opinion, good, bad, or indifferent. Now, if I made it easy on you, Chris, would you help me? Would you help me? Of course. See, that's key. You're going to make it easy on them. Would you help me? Well, have you got a few minutes right now? Are you near a computer? What's your address? I'm going to send you a DVD. Okay, you're just going to move on to the next point, to the next step, whatever that is. Maybe you're going to do a sizzle call. Maybe you're going to send them a web link. Maybe you're going to send them a DVD. Maybe you're going to set up appointments. You can go and sit down with them. Okay, this is the scale of influence. Now, keep in mind that the 0s to 5s, the people who look up to you, okay, these are your low hanging fruit. if someone says, hey, go pick the oranges, are you going to start, with the low hanging fruit and just reach up and start pulling oranges down and putting them in a bucket? Or are you going to go and get a 20-foot ladder and risk your life to start at the very top? No, you're going to get the low hanging fruit. And that's what we want you to do. In the month of March, get the low hanging fruit. And it's easy. Call them first, right? They look up to you. It's going to be so easy to share the opportunity them and recruit them. But let me give you a caution. Don't just share the business with the people who look up to you. You want to get, the people that you look up to. You want to call what we call your chicken list, people that you're afraid to call. If you recruit the people that look up to you and they recruit the people that look up to them and they recruit the people that look up to them, here's what your organization looks like. It's it's reverse evolution. That's what's going to happen in your business. So I recruit my friend Nancy, right? Nancy's sharp. She's right there on the left. She's in a sharp business suit. She looks ultra professional, right? But she looks up to me. She looks up to me. She's always been a good friend, right? I call Nancy. I go, hey Nancy, what are you doing? And listen, Nancy, I found a way for you to get out of that job you hate. You were just telling me last weekend how you hated your job. She's like, oh my gosh, it's driving me crazy. My boss is on my nerves and blah, 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 right? So because she looks up to me, it's easy. I get her on a sizzle call. She says, this is a no-brainer, Chris. I'm in, right? Well, then she goes and gets her fours, right? Which is the Barbie doll right there with the funny poofy shoulder pads. I don't know what that is. She looks like she fell out of 1983. And actually so do the two people next to her. But so she talks to her fours, right? And she talks to her fours, and he talks to his fours or zeros or twos, and then he does the same, and he does the same. Next thing you know, you got people that they don't, they're not, they can't do our business, right? They're people, they don't have any money, no skill set. They're scared to death. They can't talk to people. They've got all kinds of phobias. They're bouncing checks. They don't speak English. They don't speak Spanish. They don't talk. They're right. I mean, it's literally, you wind up with monkeys in your business that can't do anything but be a distraction and make a mess out of everything. Right? So it's okay to get these people that look like they fell out of the 80s. That's great. And it's okay if they get a few of their zeros, one, twos, threes, and fours. But we all have to be infusing our business with sixes and sevens and eights and nines and tens, unless you want your organization to look like this. And I've seen people that they literally, these are people that make, ten or $15,000 a year, and they recruit people that make less than them, and they recruit people that make less than them, and they recruit people that make less than them. And you've got people that can't keep their memberships for a month. They can't even keep their memberships for a month because they're so broke and they're so scared and they have no skills and no confidence at all whatsoever, and they can't communicate, and they're not willing to make phone calls, and they're not willing to expose, and so they make no money and they end up quitting the business. Infuse your business with sixes, sevens, eights, nines, and tens. Now, when you're dealing with questions, they may ask you questions when you're on the phone. Well, what's this all about, Nancy? Well, hey, listen, it's like getting a haircut. I can't do it over the phone, right? And it's okay to laugh when you say this. Be silly. Don't try to be serious because it would sound weird if they say, well, tell me what it's all about. Well, actually, it's like getting a haircut and you just can't do it over the phone. Don't do that. That would weird them out. It would sound like, you were abducted by an alien. Somebody took their friend. They go, what's this all about? You go, look, I tell you, but it's more like a haircut. I can't do it over the phone. We got to get together. Okay, if you want to show them the DVD, sit down with them, not get down with them, sit down with them. And I love to get together with people face to face, knee to knee, eye to eye. I love sizzle calls. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But the sizzle call is just to knock the ice off of them so that they know why we're getting together. I want to get together with people face to face. That's always the goal, whether it be at a briefing or, maybe just for lunch, just to hang out so I can give them a DVD or maybe hand them my phone over lunch and let them get a sizzle call. But yeah, so if they say what's this all about or how does this work, you just say, hey, listen, it's like a puzzle. You got to see all the pieces together. It's not going to make any sense. That's why I want to come over. That's why I'm having a grand opening. That's why I want to share this information with you. I'm about to share the information with you. Okay, so that's how you deal with that. All right, moving on. Now here's a sizzle call example. Okay. I call, let's use all of what we've been talking about. Let's roll it up into, one example with the sizzle call. So let's say I'm going to call Jenny. Okay. No, actually, I think I've got Joe here. Yeah, I've got Joe here. So we're going to use Joe. So I call Joe, ring, ring. Hello. Hey, Joe, it's Chris. How you doing? Oh, what's up, Chris? Hey, it's all good, man. Listen, Joe, I'm so glad I caught you, man. I've just got a few minutes. I'll just run out the door. Listen, I'm calling about business, Joe. I wanted to ask you something. Are you open to making additional income, or are you good? No, hey, man, you know me. I'm always looking to make extra income. Why? What is this? What's this all about? Well, that's why I'm calling, Joe. Hey, have you got a few minutes right now? Yeah, I got a few minutes. Okay, hold on a second, Joe. You got to hear this. You're not going to believe it. Hold on just a second. Okay, now this is how I would talk to Joe. Some of you that may come from a more of a professional background, you may be saying, well, this is distasteful and I would never talk to my people that way. That's fine. You talk to them however you would talk to them, but be animated, okay? Be your best you, have a sense of urgency, right? I'm integrating everything that we've just talked about in this example. So again, hey, Joe, it's Chris. How are you? Hey, Chris, what's up, man? Hey, it's all good. Listen, Joe, I'm so glad I caught you. I've just got a handful of minutes. I just run out the door. I'm calling about business. Listen, Joe, are you open to making some extra money? Or are you good? Hey, you open to making extra money? Hey, Joe, you keep your career options open, or are you satisfied? Are you happy where you're at? Right? Whatever. Remember, it's not the words, it's your music. It's the idea. It's not the script. No, I'm open to making extra money. Why? What is this? What's this all about? Well, that's why I'm calling. Joe, listen, have you got a couple minutes right now? Yeah, I got a couple. You got a few minutes right now? Yeah, I got a few minutes. Okay, hold on, Joe. I'm going to let you listen to something. You got to hear this. It's incredible. Click. Okay. And then I dial the sizzle call. I like mine. I made it. I use it. It works very, very good. So while he's on hold, I dial 512-404-2330. Then it says, hi, welcome to the Team Renew playback system. And I'm going to press 2 for the business opportunity. And I'm going to click, the receiver, or on my iPhone, I just hit merge calls. It's easy as pie. If you don't have an iPhone, I highly recommend it. It's so fun to build the business with an iPhone. But anyway, so I just hit merge calls, and now Joe and the sizzle call are together. I mute out my phone, and I go and make a bologna sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I got it on speakerphone. I'm listening to it. I'm making my sandwich, right? Maybe I'm responding to emails. Maybe I'm sending out some web videos while I've got this sizzle call going, right? I'm using my time wisely because I'm going to expose 200 people in the first 10 days of March, and every second matters. So when it's done, here's what you say. I'm going to hang up on the sizzle call. So I'm going to hit, end call on the sizzle call. And now it's just me and Joe. And I'm looking at my iPhone, right? And I can see that Joe, it says Joe Blow right there. It says he's been on the call with me now for 4.5, 5 minutes. I know he's on the line. But I'm going to ask the question, Joe, are you there? Because this begins the psychology of what we're doing, or the psychology of building our business. I want to get a bunch of yeses so that when I ask the most important question, that I get a yes. I want to put him on the yes track, not the no track. So I ask questions that I know the answer is yes. So I say, hey, Joe, are you there? Yeah. Hey, Joe, could you hear that okay? Yeah, I could hear it fine. Great, Joe. What did you like best? Okay. This is what I do every single time when I'm done with a sizzle call. And we're not going to have time to train on all the different tools, but you're all going to get the idea here. Okay. Joe, are you there? Yeah. Could you hear that okay? Yeah, I can hear it fine. Great. What'd you like best? And then Joe says, Chris, the money. So they seriously pay you all that money, right? And you're going to mirror match. Whatever they say, you're going to mirror match. You're just going to restate it back to them in the same energy, in the same tonality that they said it to you. Okay, so it sounds like this. Hey, Joe, you there? Yeah, could you hear that okay? Yeah, I could hear fine. Great, what'd you like best? This is incredible, Chris. So they really pay you all that money? Yeah, it is incredible, huh? The money's incredible, right? It's amazing that they pay us all this money. So you're just going to mirror match with that person. Okay? And that's all you're going to do. And then you're going to move them now to the next step. The next step may be a website. The next step may be a three-way call. The next step may be inviting them to the business briefing or to a luncheon. Okay? So you're going to move them to the next step and you're getting off the phone. And next week, we're going to talk about, making that transition and how to do three-way calls, how to invite to business briefings. Okay, so we're not going to handle all that tonight. This is just contacting and inviting. You're going to move them to the next step. Now, here's why I love sizzle calls. They're super short, 4 minutes. It's an immediate exposure. Think about this. If I call you, or let's say I go over to your house and I say, "Hey, John, I found this video and it's really awesome and it's really exciting." I'm being weird on purpose, but I say it's really exciting and it's really awesome, and you'd be really good at it, and you're awesome, and you're a center of influence, and so you should watch this video. Okay, I'm gonna let you watch this video, and I walk away, right? He may or may not ever watch that video. Okay, I love exposures or the sizzle calls because they're immediate. Bam! 4 minutes later, I've got an exposure. It's done. Not just an exposure, a presentation got done in 4 minutes. What'd you like best? This is amazing. How do I get more information? How can they afford to pay you this much money? What's the next step? I want to get started. Whatever. Right? So they're super short. It's an immediate, I shouldn't say exposure, it's an immediate presentation. The presentation gets done, bam, right then. It allows you to skip the follow-up. Playing phone tag. Hey, Beverly, it's Chris. Hey, this is my fourth message that I'm leaving for you. I just want to see if you watched that video that I mailed you or that web link that I sent you. Give me a call. Again, this is my fourth message. Give me a call back, right? Sizzle calls, you skip all that. You do the you call them up, you contact and invite, you do the sizzle call does the presentation, you're doing the follow-up right then and there. What'd you like? Could you do that okay? Yeah, what'd you like best? That's your follow-up. It's done. The follow-up is done. There's almost no questions on the front end because it's so quick. You're so quick to get them into that sizzle call presentation. It's super duplicatable. A brand new person could turn around and do this in 5 minutes, 5 minutes later. It's totally free, right? Doesn't cost you anything. It's super convenient. You can do them anytime, anywhere, in your underwear, in your pajamas. You can do them on your lunch break. You have a 15-minute lunch break. You step out in the hallway, go get into your car, sit down. You can make 3 or 4 sizzle calls. Boom, boom, boom. You can bang it out. And if we're going to recruit or if we're going to expose 20 people in the month, expose 200 people. And by the way, again, when we say expose, we mean presentations. We're going to give 200 people the information in the first 10 days of March. And again, if this is too much for any of you, scale back to 100, scale back to 50, scale back to 10. But for those of you that want to go big, go big, go big, and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're sick and tired of being at the same stupid level year after year after year, and you want to get the wolves away from the door, and you want to get the BMW, and you want to get to executive or back to executive or get to the ring or get to platinum or become a millionaire, to be able to quit your job, those of you who want to go big, yeah, you're going to do it. You're going to do 200 exposure presentations, presentation exposures in the first 10 days of March. Hey, if it's too much, if you don't want it that bad, that's fine. It's not for everybody, right? We invited everybody on, but we're sifting and sorting ourselves. As professionals and leaders in Legal Shield and network marketing, we're just sorting. We know not everybody's going to take the challenge. We know not everybody who does is going to follow through. We know not everybody who follows through is going to recruit 20. But we know everybody that recruits 20 is going to change their life. And sizzle calls are phenomenal ways to do that. So any tool is fine. Okay, I've talked a lot about sizzle calls tonight because I'm a big fan. But the sizzle call is just, again, to knock the ice off so that we can get face-to-face at a business briefing or a luncheon or a private business reception as soon as possible. So any tool is fine. But remember, you're going to be doing 200 exposures in those first 10 days of March. Okay, and the goal is to get face to face, preferably at a business briefing or a luncheon, something like that. Now, as we're mastering all of this, let me hold that and finish up this slide. Now, why the briefing is so powerful? The briefing really should be the closure exposure. The goal of all of this contacting and inviting is to get face to face as quickly as we can with an interested prospect, not a suspect. In my mind, they're suspects until they're interested. Once they're interested, now we've got a legitimate bona fide prospect. I want to knock the ice off so that I can get face to face with them as quickly as possible. And the briefings are awesome closure exposures. You know, why is that? Because they're professional. The professional setup, the music, you know, the registration table. People are all dressed nice. It's a positive environment. It's got social validation. You got testimonials, and it's lots of other people there. You know, the mayor might be there. A doctor may be there. A lawyer may be there. You know, your kid's teacher might be there, right? So they're getting some social validation. It's exciting. It's energetic. It's duplicatable. Anybody can take somebody to a briefing. Okay? So the question is, why are we dumbing this down? Why are we dumbing it down? Some of you are saying, I don't need a tool. I don't need a three-way call. I don't need no meetings, right? I can do all this myself. I've been in sales for 25 years. Well, we're dumbing it down because success in network marketing is wholly dependent upon this. This is the recipe. If you've ever wanted to know the recipe for success in network marketing, it's this. It's your ability to get a large group of people to do a few simple things consistently over a long period of time. It's your ability to get a large group of people to do a few simple things, not hard things. We don't want to get a few people to do some hard things. We want to get a bunch of people to do a few simple things consistently over a long period of time. You know, why are we dumbing it down? Because of this. You know, look at the numbers there. Don't get distracted by all that other stuff. That wasn't supposed to come out yet, but you know, look at those numbers. 5, 25. Could you recruit 5? Yes. Could those 5 recruit 5? Yes. Could those 5 recruit 5? Yes, for 125. Could they recruit 5 for 625? Could they recruit 5 for 3125? You know, could we do this? You know, yes, this happened in the Jeff Hughes organization. You know, Jeff Hughes has built his organization, you know, up to 70 plus thousand associates that have joined his business. Okay, but most people never get beyond 25. They can muscle and get their 5, and they could tell their 5, you better get your 25 or else. You know, if you recruit zeros, 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, you know, you can get those 5 pretty easy. And if they recruit zeros, 1, 2, 3s, and 4s to them, they can get their 5. But it's not going to duplicate. It's not going to run away from you. Now, why not? Why are we dumbing this down? Why do most people never get beyond 25 active associates on their team? Here's why. Because they're using first party instead of third party. Because they're people dependent instead of system dependent. Because, and we've got that in there twice, I apologize. Because they would rather be important than successful. They want to know all the answers. They want to give all the answers. People ask them questions. They say, well, how does this work? Oh, let me tell you how this works. How does the money work? Oh, let me tell you, I've been in this business for 15 years. I know everything. If you need anything, you call me. Matter of fact, here's my cell number. You call me 24 hours a day. If you ever have a problem with the attorneys, you call me. If you ever have a question about building the business, you call me. I'm an expert at this business. Right now, I'm being a little silly here, but this is what I mean. There are thousands of people on our team who would rather be important than successful. Now, they say they want to be successful, but it's just lip service. What they do indicates that it's really more about ego, feeling special, feeling validated, getting recognized, being important than it is about being successful. They want to know it all versus using the system. Somebody asked me, how's this work? I say, that's a great question. That's why I invited you to the briefing. That's a great question. That's why I put you on that recorded call. That's a great question. Let me introduce you to my brother, Jeff. He's my business partner. He's a millionaire in the company. He can handle all those questions for you. But you know what? This is hard for people with egos, especially men. Women are much better at doing three-way calls than men are, especially men with egos. Because men with egos, they don't want to admit that they don't know the answers to the questions, right? For somehow it makes them less than if they have to edify another human being and let the other human being answer the questions. You know what? Most people don't get past 25 because they're in their own way. You want to go big? You got to get out of your own way. You got to be system dependent, not people dependent. This is most people in our profession. This is what most people look like that are building the business in Legal Shield. They're plate spinners. They get somebody going, and then they leave them for a minute, and then they get somebody else going, and then that person's like, I need you, I need you to do all the presentations. I need you to answer all my questions. I need you to do all my private business receptions. And they're trying to keep all these plates spinning, and they can't keep people in the business. Because as your team grows to 5, 8, 10, 12, you can't keep those plates spinning. So they start breaking. Psh, oh, she quit the business. Psh, oh, he quit the business. Psh, and it's because there's only one you. And you've made yourself an integral part of their success. We don't want to be an integral part of their success. We want the system to be an integral part of their success. We want to build a business that duplicates, that runs away from us. And I don't have a lot of time here tonight, so I'm just going to run through this really quickly. We've been talking a lot about the 8 filters of duplication. You can get this on our website at teamrenew.com. Just go to the blog section and look up 8 filters of duplication. But as we're out there prospecting, the people that you're sharing the business with, they're asking themselves 3 questions, consciously or subconsciously. Can I do what you just did to me? Do I have time to do what you just did to me? And is it tasteful? Am I willing to do to my friends, family, neighbors what you just did to me? And if the answer is no, on any of those, if the answer is no, you're not going to build a big business. You're not going to build a business that runs away from you. They have to answer yes, yes, yes. And the final 5 filters for duplication look like this. Can a dud do it to a stud? Can a 0 successfully recruit a 10? And the answer is yes. When I was a 0, I recruited a 10 by showing him a video. Because when he was watching that video, guess who he didn't see? Me. He didn't see me and my poverty and my lack of education. He didn't see me and my lack of skills and lack of knowledge, understanding, and professionalism. All he could see was Legal Shield in all of its glory, right? He got all the facts from the horse's mouth, not me. Can a dud do it to a stud? Will it work in depth? Will it work in distance? Will it work 4, 5, 6, 7 levels deep? You know, Jeff showed me a video. I showed Dwayne a video. Dwayne showed Brian a video. Brian showed Corey a video. Corey showed somebody else a video, right? We're going 5, 6, 7 levels deep right off the bat when we're days, weeks in the business. Will it work in distance? May work for you in Southern California. Does it work in Ohio without you? Will it work 5 minutes later? See, this is how you build a monstrosity of a business. You know, I asked the question, why do we dumb it down? This is why we dumb it down. Because everybody that we get in front of, as we're exposing those 200 people in the first 10 days of March, whatever you do to them, they need to be able to say, yes, I can do what you just did to me. Yes, I have time to do what you just did to me. It only took 4 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Is it tasteful? Yeah, I'd be willing to do that to my friends, family, and neighbors. You kidding me? Yeah, even if I'm a dud, I could do that to a stud. I could do that to everybody. This will work 4, 5, 6 levels deep. It'll work in Boca Raton, Florida. It's going to work without me, and it'll work 5 minutes later. And this is the recipe, y'all, for building it big and building it fast. Get out of the way. Dumb it down. Weakest link marketing. Keep it simple. Now, until you get all this mastered, you're going to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. Are you going to do all this right? Are you going to do the sizzle call right? Are you going to contact and write the right way? Answer, no, not in the beginning. But in the beginning, you're just going to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. You know what? You call 200 people and you get an exposure to them. I don't care what you say or how you say it. You're making money in March. You're making money in March, y'all. You're just going to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. Some of you are going to talk to 20 people. You're going to expose 20, 30, 40 people in the month of March in the first 10 days, and you're going to recruit 20 people. Bam. You don't have to expose 200 people. But for many of us, we're going to have to make up in numbers, right, what you lack in skill. One moment. Apologize for that. Had to turn off some noise. So, as Jim Rohn said, until you master all, while you're mastering all of this, you're going to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. We have 200 people to expose in the month of March, in the first 10 days of March. Now, we went a full, I didn't anticipate going a full 90 minutes, but we did. I'm going to open this up, and we're going to take questions in the comment box. I'm going to ask that you all, if you've got questions, if you've got comments, just type them out, and we'll look at them here and we'll answer them live here on the webinar. So just start typing out your questions. While we're waiting on those questions to come in, Jeff, I'd like to bring you in to kind of tie this up in a bow, and then you and I can handle some of these questions on the backside. Jeff, you there? Well, while we're waiting on him to jump in, I will start reading some questions. Okay, from Lori. Okay, now I really understand how we have Neanderthals in our line. Yes, now you know. LOL. Awesome training. Big reminder tonight. Let them sort themselves out. Great comment. Appreciate that. And if anybody has questions, just send them in. I'm not seeing any. Anybody have any questions? If we don't have questions, we'll go ahead and close out the webinar tonight. Jeff, are you still on the line or no? Well, I guess we don't get to hear from Jeff tonight. All right, let's take some specific questions. What is the phone number? To the Sizzle call. It's 512-404-2330. 512-404-2330. What would you recommend if there isn't a business briefing close to you in your city? You're going to have to use, maybe Great Work Plan. That's kind of a full-blown presentation done by Patrick Shaw, greatworkplan.com. I hope that's the right website. If that's not, somebody straighten me out. My mind just went fuzzy. Um, and I'd also recommend considering starting one. If you don't have a briefing there, if that's too scary, that's no problem. Just start doing PBRs in your house on a regular basis, and use as many of the tools as you can. Please give an example of how to create a sense of urgency without losing posture. Well, I kind of did that tonight, but I don't think you need to lose posture, and I hope I didn't indicate that you need to lose posture when you're creating a sense of urgency. Um, hey, Jack, it's Chris. Hey, I'm so glad I caught you. I'm just running out the door. Have you got a couple minutes? Yeah, listen, I'm calling about business, whatever. I don't think it's not an either or. We're not creating a sense of urgency by giving up our posture. You can do them both. And posture is it's your music, you know? Um, so I hope I answered that question. If not, feel free to send in a follow-up. Kathy asked, responses to someone saying it's a pyramid scheme. Look at corporate America. It's all a pyramid. You have a boss, managers below, people below that. Yeah, that's true. And you can do that, but a new person can't do that. When they're brand new, they don't know how to handle that. And so if somebody does that, here again, have posture. Say no first. Don't be afraid to set them free. Oh, I remembered what I was going to say earlier is that, the reason we're afraid to set people free is because we only have 11 people on our list, or we only have 21 people on our list. If you have hundreds of people on your list and you've mastered the skill of prospecting and you know how to turn a stranger into a friend, you don't care. You don't care what they say. You don't care to set them loose because you have so many people to get to, right? So if someone, has the pyramid concern, just, yeah, you can say that stuff. I mean, if you once you've developed your skill set to be able to do that, like Kathy, you clearly have, but a newer person might not. And so as a new person, all you need to learn to say is, you know what? I think I've made a mistake. This is probably not for you, right? And that's going to open up the conversation. They're going to be like, whoa, whoa, what do you mean? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. And you just say, well, look, I like to think that you know me better than to get involved in a pyramid company. Good grief. Now, look, and just go back to the question at hand. Are you open to additional income or no? Are you good? Well, yeah, I'm open. Why? What is it? And then move right into the next step, whatever that is, the sizzle call, you're going to send them a web link or what have you. So thank you for that, Kathy. David asked, what happens when there is no one at the event but the speaker and yourself? Does that matter? Um, yeah, it matters. If that's happening consistently, I would, whoever's running that briefing needs to, they need to give themselves a 4-week probation and create something magical in 4 weeks, or they need to shut it down and do private business receptions. There is nothing worse than taking a guest to a business briefing with one or two or three or four people in it. I mean, it's so de-edifying to our company. So if that's happening regularly, then yeah, something needs to change there. Maybe you just want to do an online presentation. Maybe you want to invite them to your PBR. I'd much rather have a PBR with 3 people than a business briefing of 5 or 10. That's just me. 5 to 10 people, that's in my mind, that's not a briefing. That's a PBR. You know, that's a private luncheon maybe, but it's not a briefing. So change that, David. Bring some people out, recruit a bunch of people. If you guys can't create momentum over the next 2 or 3 weeks, then you're just going to have to go to plan B, do it in your living room. But work with your local leadership. Let's see whoever that is, and let's see what we can do to grow that. Question. Somebody says question, but there is no question. All right, Josh says, so the no's you give count as no's working toward your yeses. So, do the no's you give count? Yeah. Well, if they say no and they don't get exposed, they don't get the presentation exposure. No, that doesn't count. It only counts toward our 200 if they get the information. If they say no, then yes, that counts towards your 200. Okay, hope that helps. So to improve our music, we need to get more energy. Yes, you've got to be energetic. You've got to look the part. You've got to be exciting and upbeat. You've got to be convicted yourself. You've got to be passionate. Don't go overboard. But yes, you need to have music. I mean, compare it to elevator music compared to, you know, right? Or your favorite rock song or your favorite, whatever. Um, I'm not a big fan of elevator music. Not a big fan. If somebody calls me with elevator music playing versus somebody calling me with, my favorite pop 40, top 40, hip hop, whatever, or my favorite country song, it's like, yeah, I start moving my head, right? I'm like, I'm excited about this. Yeah, obviously the person who's bringing me the music is going to have the music that is more enjoyable, is going to have more success. Roland asked, are all the sizzle calls still on the back office? Yeah, the corporate sizzle calls. Go in the back office and look. And by the way, what I just did with Roland was a leadership strategy. Once we recruit people, we don't all of a sudden now start going to first party. We don't use third party, third party, third party, third party, third party, third party. And once they get in, they say, hey, are the sizzle calls still in the back office? And I go, yes, sir, they are. Or no, they're not. They took those down last Thursday. No, I say that's a great question. Go into your back office and look. Somebody asked me about a contest that the company's running. They said, hey, how does this work? I knew the answer, but you know what I told him? I said, you know what? Uh, Call the company, 580-436-RICH. Call the company, ask them, find out the answer, and send me a text and let me know. Right? Now, instead of giving that man a fish, I just taught that man how to fish. You got to use third party even in your leadership. Okay, Kevin says, excellent, Chris. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Shelly says, thank you. Andrea says, the sizzle calls mention lead with the BizOp, the intention with the exposures, but for prospects who answer not looking for money or they are fine with their income, how is best then to go into sharing the membership, or should they be called back after March? I'd call them back after March. And by the way, I've found very few people that are not at least open to making additional income. Very few people that are not at least open. Yeah, and if they're not open to it, we'll just say, listen, I've got something I want to share with you anyway. Forget about the money, but March is crazy for me. It's so exciting. My business is exploding. Um, I'll get with you in April. Or you might want to say this. I meant to say this earlier, and we've lost about 15 people, but those of you that are staying on the line, you're gonna be the beneficiaries of some of this back end information. So congratulations for staying. But I wouldn't be afraid to say to people, look, my company's running a promotion, and all I have to do is share some information with 200 people, and I can win, and then tell them your number. Remember the number from the last webinar? Maybe your number is $8,000. Yeah. So if hey Jack, are you and Nancy going to be home tonight? Look, I want to come over and share something with you. My company's running a promotion, and this is great with people that already know you're in Legal Shield. Say, look, Jack, I'm already in Legal Shield. I mean, I'm in Legal Shield. You know that. Are you and Nancy going to be home tonight? I want to swing by because my partners are running a promotion, and if I share the information with 200 people in the first 10 days of March, I've got $8,000 in financial potential. I've got a possibility to earn $15,000, right? That you could say that to everybody, even if they say I'm not interested. No, this isn't for me. On the front end, even before you put them on a call or share the DVD with them, if they go, it's not for me. Listen, you're probably right. As a matter of fact, you are right. It's not for you, Mary. But look, my business partners are running a promotion where if I just share this information with 200 people in the first 10 days of March, on average, I could win about $8,000. I could win about $4,000. I could win about $10,000, or earn, not win, earn about $10,000. And that is a true statement. So use that. Use that. All right. Jimmy, I thought we are not supposed to judge our prospects. You're not supposed to judge them, Jimmy, and thank you for that question. We're not judging them to say that they either will do it or they won't do it, right? I didn't say we judge them that way. Matter of fact, I don't believe I ever said judge them. I said that we are all a 5 on the scale of 0 to 10, and that there are people that are zeros, 1, 2, 3s, and 4s that look up to us. There are 5s that we're equal with, and then there's 6, 7, 8, 9s, and 10s that we look up to. I didn't say judge them, prejudge them. We share, and you remember I said we share the business with who? Did I say don't share it with people that you think are zeros? No. I said we share this business with everyone, and we let them sort themselves out. So I hope I clarified that. Thanks for the question, Jimmy. Lowell says, expound a little on what you mean by our music. It's your vibe. Have you ever met somebody who, when they get around you, they're just disruptive? They don't even have to say anything. It's like an energy, or like a vibe, a vibration. It's their aura, right? That's what I mean by music. They're so insecure that they're always apologizing, right? They're always second guessing themselves. That's what I mean by music. They're depressed, they're down and out, or they're excited, they're energetic. So think about music. There's music that would make you so depressed that you just want to bury yourself in your room for a year. And there's music like the Rocky theme song that gets you so jacked up, you want to start, punching the air, right? You want to start shadow boxing. You're just so fired up. You're jumping up and down. You're clapping your hands. That's what I mean by music. Some people have music that'll just put you to sleep, or it's disruptive or offensive in some way. Some people have music that's intoxicating. It's exciting. So I hope that helps. If you have a follow-up question, feel free to do that. How do you motivate your 20 to recruit 20 once you recruit 20? You plug them into the system. You are not going to do it. You are going to let the system do it. You are going to send them to teamrenew.com, and you're going to let them have the same exact experience that you had, for you to go out and recruit 20. So, and that's a great question, Kate, but I would just say, hey, let's just get focused on getting the 20. That's another webinar down the road, right? To what are we going to do with those 20 once we get them in? And we do have a webinar planned for that. Rodney asked, do you have any suggestions as to how I'd contact my spouse's existing customers from our business? He's busy running the other. That's a very specialized question. Maybe we can do that offline, because that may not apply to most people on the call. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back. About pyramids, oh, this is just somebody making a suggestion. Thank you for that. Thank you for the breakdown on the 0 to 5 people getting there, 0 to 5 people, and so forth. That was a wake-up call. Thank you, Joshua. Unmute Jeff. Jeff's unmuted. I don't know why we can't hear him. I never muted him, but thanks for that, Curtis. Joshua again, small, hopefully helpful tip. I printed out enough pages to include a list, 300 blank spaces for names and phone numbers. Every day I add to it. Fill up pages. It is the goal with the end result in mind. Oh my gosh, we have so many questions and comments. I encourage you all to hang out. I know it's late. I've been here a long time, and my voice is getting dim. Oh, Jeff wants you to unmute him. Okay, well, Jeff, you should have texted me, my man. I don't know how I had you muted. Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I thought you went to sleep on
Chris,
me.
can you hear me?
I hear you fine. Can you hear me?
No, same thing as last week. You mute me out, and then you ignore my text. You ignore my request. I just feel like you don't love me anymore.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, well, just so you know, when I'm on webinar, I can't see anything. You're sending me those texts and things. I couldn't see anything when I'm in presentation mode. So, Jeff, I want you to
That's
handle.
right. Everybody else sees me.
All right. Well, I want you to handle some of these questions and share any thoughts that you have. We've still got 80% of the people on the line. Not handing out my business cards so much right now. I'm
Sure.
asking as many people as I can to connect on any level for their business cards. Um, I'm going to keep going, Jeff, until we've got one that you can handle. But yeah, people, I don't carry business cards, just so y'all know. Maybe to a networking event, I'll do that. But just out and about, I don't carry business cards. I'll say, I don't have one. You know what? Have you got a card? Because I want their information. You give them your information, they're never going to call you. Great training, Mr. Hughes. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Hughes wants to be unmuted. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. We have Legal Shield University every weekly business briefings in my market. Got to figure out some way to continue to stay on track with my 10 core 30-day run. Stepping out. Okay, good. Kate, thanks, Mr. Hughes. You're welcome. Oh, we're done, Jeff. Michael, what do you use as a contact invite for people you meet out in the marketplace, i.e., in line at the grocery store? Don't really have time to get to know them. Um, Jeff, any ideas on that?
Well, when you talk to somebody in line, you say, do you have a business card, or can I get your email address and I'll send you a link, or do you mind if I text you something? I could text you the information to your cell phone if that would be all right. So you got to get some way that you can get them the information. And I think, if worst comes to worst, give them your business card, but I think Chris is right. They're probably not going to call you back or even go and check it out. But it's
Yeah.
better than nothing. It's like Chris said with the tape on top of the gas pump is what those things are called, Chris, gas pump. Um, Nothing works until it does, and then you think you're a genius. So try everything.
Well, and it's like, I mean, you don't have to talk long, but if you get a card, and by the way, Michael, if you didn't get that Prospecting 101 CD, he tells you exactly how to handle this, exactly what to do, exactly what to say, exactly how to follow up, when to follow up. So, and you can get that at teamrenew.com. Click on the Recruit 20 webinar series. Down there, there's a link that says Prospecting 101. You can download it tonight and listen to it tonight. So, but yeah, you can call them back the next day and say, hey, I was really impressed with you. I'm expanding my business in the area. Do you keep your career options open? Are you open to additional income or what have you? So Jeff, that concludes tonight, man. We went the distance. We've got another one
You
next
did.
week. Yeah, next week. Next week we're going to be talking about. Let me pull that. We're going to be talking about following up with prospects and closing prospects. So use the same link that you used to be here tonight. Get here early. As soon as we fill up, we'll start. Jeff, I'm going to let you send us off. Any thoughts, anything you want to share with the team before we go?
This is genius, and really people want to get good at the business and, want to prevent a lot of mistakes and missteps and doing things that you find out later down the road seem like they were working, but they never duplicated. Refine your system. One of my mentors taught me this: on the far side of complexity is simplicity. And I think it's human nature to make things more complex, to add detail to flourish it. But wisdom in this business is simplification. And what you want to do is to refine your system down. I would say, you old timers like me, go back and evaluate what you're doing, how you've been doing it in the last few months or years compared to what we're learning on this webinar. And if it doesn't fit inside this webinar, eliminate it. Even if it's working, even if you're getting results with it, eliminate it, because what we want is massive, duplication, massive growth, automatic expansion of your business without your pushing the business along. And that's what you get when you're using a very simple system like this that anybody can do. A few people will do it, and they'll go get other people who will also do it. And there's magic in it. And it's hard to drag one dead person around behind you, but you can run with 1,000. In fact, you can run with 10,000 people. It's just as easy to run with 10,000 as it is to run with one. But have one of them die and grab hold of your shoulders and have to drag them around, and you'll understand the difference between using a simple duplicatable system and a complicated, effective system that works on one person at a time. So, Chris, you did a great job as always, and I apologize that I wasn't able to talk, but I don't think I need to. You did a great job. I don't have anything to add.
Well, thanks
So
so
we're going
much.
to be done now, guys. So I want to wish you all a great night, and please go and review this week. Make sure that you write down your goals that you begin working on, the things that you learned last week and tonight, and teach it to your team. We know that we're limited on how many people get on this webinar, so consider yourself empowered and eligible, certified to go out and train this with your team as well. So thank you, Chris, very, very much.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back here. Use the same link for next week for week number 3 of our 4-part series of how to recruit 20 people in the month of March. Thanks again for being here. Congratulations for being here, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye for now.